as much as he wins. I mean, it's just, there's so many things, the Wyatt family, I'm a huge fan of the Wyatt family. Bray Wyatt is amazing at building up a feud. We see him on Raw. His promos are immaculate. His presence is just, it's mystifying. He's fantastic. The fans, the live crowds love the guy, but they love him as a bad guy, which is what he's supposed to be. And then every time we get this awesome build-up, and then he gets his ass beat at the pay-per-view every single time.
Right.
Always loses at the pay-per-view. And he's supposed to be like, well, his moniker right now, he calls himself the new face of fear. Why am I scared of you? You lose all the time.
Exactly.
I don't care how good you build up a match. You turn around, you lose to everybody. So why should I be scared? Why should I be scared that if John Cena's my guy, why should I be scared that Bray Wyatt's going to beat him when you show me every time Bray Wyatt can't beat anybody?
It's fair.
So they're at a point they need to be building new stars, but I almost think Vince McMahon has forgotten how to build new stars.
It's possible.
And no one can tell him anything differently. It's right now it's like a rat race. WWE is a rat race right now. Nobody knows how to get to the damn end of the maze. And I mean, can someone tell you there is as much talent, just talent, guys who can talk, guys who can wrestle, guys who can go. God, there's as much talent as I've probably ever seen in it. And then when you look down at NXT, you've got guys like Finn Balor, you've got Samoa Joe down there. And I'm a huge Finn Balor guy.
Mm-hmm.
Bullet Club, dog, Biz Cliz. And he's sitting down there and he's been awesome in NXT. And you're almost to a point now, it's like you don't want them to call him up to the main roster because once he gets there, they're going to fuck him up.
That's depressing.
That's another thing. Kevin Owens, I'm a big Kevin Owens fan. Kevin Owens was this dominant beast down in NXT. I mean, he was billed as being such a badass. When Finn Balor finally beat him for the title, the place went berserk because, oh my God, we finally someone can beat Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens comes to the main roster, beats John Cena at the pay-per-view in his very first match, and then at the next two pay-per-views loses to John Cena, and now it's right into that 50-50 booking. He wins as much as he loses now. Mm-hmm. And he's your Intercontinental Champion. But it's like they're not building him up as a credible threat because, like I said, he loses as much as he wins.
Right. Where
in NXT, they built him up to be a monster, and it was amazing. So, guys come in who do great in the developmental, and then they get to the main roster, and it's just like, okay, you're going to the mid card, and, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's depressing almost. Mm-hmm. You've got guys out there who can be the superstars for the next generation. For my son, my 11-year-old, these are guys who, for the next 10 years, he could follow and they could be the superstars of the sport. When I came up, it's exactly how I came up, Ed. Shawn Michaels kind of got his break when I was about my son's age. I was 10, 11 years old. And then by the time I'm in high school, he's the Generation X. Man, he's the coolest damn thing on the planet almost. Mm-hmm. I've told the story about I wore the same Degeneration X t-shirt under my pads for 3 years.
Yep.
It said Degeneration X on the back. It said, "Suck it." I loved it. But I followed him for a long time as he got better and better and better and better. But here's my kid. He loves Dean Ambrose. He loves Roman Reigns, loves those guys. And it's like every week it's like, oh, they won. And the next week they lose. Oh, this week they won. And this week they lost. Once again, except for Roman Reigns, who they're trying to turn into the next John Cena, but nobody wants to see that.
Yeah, I've been brought back to something. It's not totally analogous, I think. But it's what you told me about Vince McMahon and how he kept trying to please the shareholders. Uh-huh. Nintendo, I know
Oh,
it's two pretty disparate things here, but Nintendo shareholders have been notorious the last few years.
oh,
The Nintendo's latest console, the Wii U, has not performed very well,
oh.
and they kept talking about the chairman Satoru Iwata. They kept asking him, "Hey, let's get into mobile." Every kid's playing on their iPhone or their Android. They're playing all those stupid free to play games where you purchase energy and stuff, and
Uh,
we'll get them through there, and it will make a killing. That's what we need to focus on. Is not another console. We need to start going mobile, mobile, mobile. Even though that would be absolutely terrible for Nintendo to do, and it's stupid. But the investors don't care because they just want profit.
and
And
that's a short term money grab.
yeah, absolutely. And this Satoru Iwata was kept going like, no, if hey, we took a loss, you know what I'm gonna do? I'll cut my salary in half. That's how we're gonna pay for it. I'll take a pay cut so no one has to lose their job and you all can be satisfied. Now, unfortunately, Mr. Iwata passed away earlier this year, and that's kind of the thing now is a Nintendo. Hopefully, whoever fills into that president void kind of
Mhm.
keeps that legacy going. And that's when you talk about McMahon just keeps trying to chase ratings.
Mhm.
That can't be the be all end all. Now, in fairness, Raw's ratings are still okay. 2.8
True.
is 2.8 on cable, which I think
Mhm.
is what this last one was, is still a pretty good number. And if they can, as somebody pointed out, if they can get back once Monday Night Football ends to that 3.5, 3.8 range, then
Mhm.
everything is probably okay. But I agree with you that this push for ratings, this charge to try and just mercilessly go after ratings, has really hurt the product. From everything you've told me, from everything I've seen, you can't do that. And that's, I know, and this is me being, I guess, ignorant, but I
Mhm.
know Stephanie McMahon has some part in the company. Surely, if anybody could convince him, it would be her, right? Like, or is that just me not knowing the situation?
And see that's kind of what we don't know because okay, Stephanie McMahon, she's married to Triple H, who
Hmm.
is an executive in the company. Well, like we say, Triple H is doing a fantastic job at NXT.
Hmm.
So, and that's why I really think Vince McMahon. And don't get me wrong, I love Vince McMahon. I mean, hey, if nothing else, the guy's an East Carolina graduate.
There you go.
I love him just for that. If nothing else, Vince McMahon's ego is so unchecked that I don't even know if his daughter can get through to him. And Ed, you talk about the ratings. Here's the thing: you're talking about, hey, they could get back up to a 3.5, 3.8. Vince McMahon is like a heroin addict.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: in 98, 97, 98, in the middle of what was called the Monday Night Wars between WWF and WCW, which it was Raw and Nitro every Monday night at the same time. When McMahon won the Monday Night Wars, he was pulling 6.3s and 6.4s.
Yeah.
And they're chasing, that is the number that they are chasing,
And if I
are the
may,
6.5s and the 6.7s and the 6.8s. Go ahead.
in this landscape, that's
Exactly.
idiotic.
Exactly. It's impossible. I mean, you think about 98. How many channels did you have in 98 compared to what you have now?
Not even close. And just the fact that there's this thing called the internet now.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember. I'm trying to remember. I think our TV went up to about channel 70 on our cable,
Yeah, that sounds right.
and
Yeah.
maybe 15 of those were pay-per-view channels, which we didn't get. And then you had your HBOs and your Showtimes. You had about 30 cable channels. My TV now goes up to like 1,200.
Yeah.
And plus you take into account, people now, you've got the DVR. Well, I'll just tape it and watch it later. I can watch it on Hulu. There's a Hulu version of Raw that comes out every Tuesday, a shortened version that's on Hulu.
Hmm.
People can do that. There are so many more options now. Apple TV, the Fire Stick, all that good stuff.
Hmm.
It's not, as you said, it's completely no longer the same game that it was.
Right.
You're never pulling those numbers again. I mean, you're talking Super Bowl numbers almost. The only thing right now that's catching those numbers is the Super Bowl, the World Cup. God, the World Series doesn't even get those anymore hardly.
No. I mean, we're talking the World Series did great this year, and I think it pulled like a 12 or 13.
Yeah. I mean, and you're talking about every Monday pulling sevens. No, it doesn't happen anymore. But that is still what is in Vince McMahon's head, is that's what we're chasing. That's what we got to get. And the problem is he has shown a propensity that as soon as the ratings start to go down, McMahon will panic. There's always that, break in case of emergency. And that's why everybody right now is saying the break in case of emergency is to put the title back on John Cena.
Oh, yeah.
Because, it'll get the ratings up. Well, but I mean, you look at, he got rating spikes the year that he brought back The Rock to face Cena at WrestleMania. That was a rating spike. Whenever he brings in Brock Lesnar, that's a rating spike. But the problem is, then you take these guys who are part-timers. I mean, The Rock doesn't even really wrestle anymore. But if The Rock said, Vince, I want to wrestle at WrestleMania, you'll get a huge number out of it. He will. And you know what? If Rock said, why don't you give me the title, Vince would give him the damn title. Probably, yeah. And there's the thing. It would just be for the rating. Basically, they bring in The Rock. They bring in Brock Lesnar. And then they feed their young talent that they're supposed to be developing as the next superstars. They feed them to those guys, and those guys decimate them. We talked about the Wyatt family a little bit. This past year at WrestleMania, Undertaker took on Bray Wyatt. Mm-hmm. The Undertaker just the other day at Survivor Series celebrated his 25th year in the WWE. A quarter of a century. And I remember when he came out, I was 8. It was the Survivor Series 1990. I was 8 years old. And I was terrified of him. I remember it. But here we go, so 24, 25 years later, he's facing Bray Wyatt, the guy that you're trying to push as the new face of fear, because The Undertaker had been the face of fear for 20-some years. What better opportunity do you have than for these two to have an epic match? At the end of the day, Bray Wyatt vanquishes The Undertaker, and bam, you've given him the rub for the next 5 years. This guy is the face of fear. He beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania. No, what happens? No, we put Taker over at WrestleMania. Of course. Because he wrestles twice a year. Now, he's been wrestling a little more lately, but a lot of people believe he's leading up to his retirement, probably at WrestleMania 32, coming up in April from Dallas. Jerry World, they're looking to sell 100,000 tickets to WrestleMania. And that's why this year at WrestleMania, I don't expect to see anything different. I expect to see The Rock back. Because he's trying to sell 100,000 tickets now. Right. Slow and steady building is not going to get you 100,000 tickets and the massive rate that you want at WrestleMania. So let's say they bring The Rock in. Dude, I'm as big a Rock fan as anybody. I love The Rock. I've yelled, if you smell what The Rock's cooking, you Rudy Poo candy ass for years. If you bring in The Rock and put him over, let's just say Roman Reigns, which won't happen. Sure. But let's say you put him over Roman Reigns. I mean, what have you just done to Roman Reigns? You've just said that character who is your week in, week out, he's one of the cornerstones of your future. He can't beat a 40-plus-year-old guy who hasn't wrestled in over 2 years. Right. That guy comes in to wrestle one match, and he beats your guy who's on TV every single week. Why should I buy into Roman Reigns at that point? Or let's say Dean Ambrose. Let's use Ambrose, because obviously Reigns isn't going to have it. Let's use Ambrose, who's an over big-time babyface right now. If The Rock comes in and beats Dean Ambrose, why should I ever really believe in Dean Ambrose? He can't beat a 45-year-old movie actor. Yeah. Yeah. But but right now the WWE would do it because it would pop a rating for him. And that's all that matters. And that's all that matters, because that's what the stockholders want, is they want to pop a rating. And that's depressing. Right now, the landscape of wrestling, there are some smaller companies in the country. Ring of Honor is kind of the major. Ring of Honor is kind of a AA to AAA organization right now. If you want to look at it in that light. Ring of Honor just signed a new TV deal with some station I've never heard of and don't get.